The story I'm about to tell you spans many centuries. Some of it I've seen with my own eyes, and some of it was passed on to me by my relatives. Noirmoutier was originally shaped by sand and sediments accumulating along a rocky barrier. It was then polarized, piece by piece. In 2010, 2/3 of the island was located below the mean seawater level, and was only kept afloat by kilometers of dikes. Since the first settlements, the sea has always provided the people of Noirmoutier with food, jobs, and a wonderful living environment. Up to the 1970s, the island could only be reached at low tide. In 1972, a bridge was constructed, and in the following years, the population quadrupled, putting an enormous pressure on an already vulnerable territory. Due to global warming, the number of catastrophic weather events started increasing, and in 2010, part of the dikes protecting Noirmoutier was crushed by the violence of the waves during Storm Xynthia. Polders were flooded in hours, and many houses in the south were engulfed by the sea. Climatologists predicted that the sea level around Noirmoutier would rise between 1 and 4 meters before 2100. In 2014, Noirmoutier Council decided to put a defensive strategy together. All the dikes were to be drastically raised. The inhabitants at the time were scared but determined not to live circled by defensive walls. This type of hard infrastructure had already revealed its weakness in 2010. Facing so much resistance, the council asked a multidisciplinary team to come up with an alternative to the concrete curtain, as some of its opponents called it. In 2015, their proposal was revealed to the public. The plan was to focus energy and funds on saving the most valuable part of the island, the north, and to transform the southern polders into a more adaptable landscape. We felt like our island was being amputated. However, it was explained to us that it was a necessary action to save as much of Noirmoutier as possible. In 2025, after years of consultations, the big shift started. The dunes in the south were reinforced, entire housing estates were demolished, then relocated, and seawater infiltrated gradually into the polarized fields. A more varied economy emerged from this change. Single-crop fields were transformed into tidal pasture lands, reserves and natural wave breakers protecting northern Noirmoutier. The north, where 3/4 of the population lived and the most economically and aesthetically valuable landscapes were concentrated, was to be shielded by a series of hard infrastructures. Due to the island's topography, hard infrastructures were unavoidable, but the proposed buffers were actually a series of multifunctional structures. They were formed by concrete breakwaters in the shape of reef barriers, which lay ahead of extensive dikes designed as public spaces. These shelters were aiming to protect Noirmoutier from storms, but also allowed many agricultural industries and tourist activities to flourish, such as salt marshes, eco-museums, and delicious locally sourced fish restaurants. It was such a drastic change when the transformation first started back in 2025. Today, 65 years later, nobody doubts we made the right choice. Lots of jobs were created thanks to the big shift, and the biodiversity has improved incredibly. We were one of the first places to make the big jump into depolarization. Experts from all over the world come to Noirmoutier to observe its dynamic systems, and we all feel very proud of living here.